I am not the female lead. Yet Ethan Shaw didn't hesitate to mobilize all his connections in the capital to pursue me. He was known as a rebellious young master who cared for nothing. But for me, he lived a life of abstinence. Not a drop of tobacco or alcohol, no more car races. Everyone disbelieved, saying the Shaw family was arrogant and set in their ways. They bet he'd soon tire of me, a sickly, well-behaved girl. Only I knew Ethan truly loved me. But despite loving me so much, he was still destined to marry Vivian Hứa. How could a villainess contend with the female lead? I accepted this truth, smiled, and chose to let go. Ethan Shaw, happy engagement. But Ethan was panic-stricken. The arrogant man who looked down on everyone now had red-rimmed eyes, and his pale, cold hands trembled. "Chloe, you are the one I fought destiny to love. Don't abandon me." I secretly returned to the country, hidden from everyone. A century-defining engagement ceremony was reaching its peak. The young master of the Shaw group was placing an engagement ring on the finger of the second daughter of the Hứa family. Vivian Hứa wore the wedding dress that rightfully belonged to me, smiling bashfully. Finally, she had replaced me, achieving her wish to be engaged to Ethan Shaw. After 2 years of relentless pursuit, she was just a hair's breadth away from completing her conquest. Stage lights illuminated them, drawing all eyes. Everyone watched with admiration, showering them with blessings. This is what you call a perfect match, a talented man and a beautiful woman. Among them, some whispered regretfully, "Unbelievable, that year the Shaw family spared no effort, mobilizing all connections in the capital to pursue the eldest daughter of the Hứa family, Chloe Hứa. To save Chloe, he jumped from a 3-story building without a blink, not even caring for his own life." We thought they were about to announce happy news. Who knew he'd end up marrying the younger sister? I knew it. The Shaw family is used to their arrogance. How could he truly love a docile, sickly girl like Chloe Hứa? Actually, she's quite pitiful. I heard Chloe isn't their biological daughter. She was raised as a substitute from childhood. After the Hứa family found their real daughter, they threw her overseas and forgot about her. Even her boyfriend of 7 years was snatched away. Pitiful. What's pitiful about her? Vivian Hứa is the true heiress, not only beautiful and charming, but also full of personality. It's only natural everyone prefers her, isn't it? Those who reveled in the drama gossiped incessantly. I blended into the service staff, holding a glass of wine and standing in a corner, my gaze fixed on Ethan Shaw. He wore an expensive custom-tailored black suit, his sharp jawline taut, a faint hint of annoyance creasing his brows. Indifferently, he raised a hand, revealing a pale, cold wrist. On his wrist, a sandalwood Buddha bead bracelet added to his refined air, making him appear even more distinguished. In the crowd, he always stood out. Of course, Ethan had been handsome since childhood, exuding a regal yet untamed aura. His words and actions were both cool and infuriating. As he grew, his arrogant and defiant presence intensified to the point no one could ignore it. After taking over the Shaw family's business, Ethan Shaw used ruthless tactics to dominate the market. Even the most influential figures in the business world feared him. No one could coerce him into doing anything, let alone force him into marriage. Unless he willingly chose it. Who would have thought that the business magnate who had just called me, saying he missed me, would still manage to get engaged? Everything unfolded exactly as in my dreams. Without my knowledge, Ethan Shaw had been ambiguously involved with Vivian Hứa. Ethan Shaw had started to deceive me. On the phone, he clearly said I was the one he loved most, yet he secretly got engaged to Vivian Hứa. At this moment, I believed it. It turned out I truly was the villainess in a melodramatic novel. Ethan Shaw and I were childhood sweethearts, our love once so passionate, all of it real. But in the end, it couldn't overcome the destined female lead. According to the plot in the book, after Ethan Shaw and Vivian Hüe's engagement, I would be forced to become a wicked villainess, embarking on all sorts of foolish schemes to harm the female lead. Consumed by jealousy and hatred, I would be utterly destroyed, losing all semblance of humanity. I yearned for love to the extreme, becoming reckless, like a pathetic madwoman, casting aside all self-respect. I would even defiantly threaten Ethan Shaw with my life, begging him not to abandon me. Yet, Ethan Shaw would lock me in the villa, letting me rage and smash everything. He would hold me close, coaxing me with his familiar loving gaze, then inject me with tranquilizers, hypnotize me, and raise me like a canary unable to see the sunlight. No matter what I did, I couldn't escape this suffocating, invisible cage. Ethan Shaw was also destined not to change any of his decisions for me. Their grand wedding would proceed as planned. And I, abandoned by everyone, my heart turned to ashes, with no will to live, would die a desperate death on an operating table in a foreign land. The moment he received my death certificate, Ethan Shaw would go mad. I would become the dead, white moonlight in his heart. Ethan Shaw would torment himself to the point of perversion. He would tightly clutch my cold photograph to his chest, repenting again and again. His tall body would curl into a ball. Every time he thought of something related to me, Ethan Shaw would be heartbroken to the point of dying and coming back to life. But no matter how deep the pain, it could be healed and redeemed by the female lead. Vivian Hứa would stay by his side, never leaving, overcoming the most painful period of his life and eventually softening his heart. 10 years after my death, Ethan Shaw would hold Vivian Hüe's hand and come to my grave. He would say he had to let go of me, cherish the person in front of him, and choose to move forward. That was the ending of the story. I would be completely forgotten. How ridiculous, I thought. It turns out I was just a plot device to catalyze the male and female leads' love. I feared I would truly become the wicked Villainess, controlled by hatred and losing myself. I feared even more seeing Ethan Shaw gradually forget me, and with the female lead who belonged to him, act out a scene of inverse, hidden love. Just thinking that day would inevitably come, I was consumed by a profound sense of powerlessness, my heart aching so much I couldn't breathe. After Ethan Shaw and Vivian Hứa exchanged rings, the entire hall erupted in thunderous applause. Everyone cheered, "Kiss, kiss!" My eyes suddenly burned, and amidst the joyous laughter and chatter, I burst into sobs. The annoyance between Ethan Shaw's brows deepened, and his entire body radiated a chilling aura that made people shiver without cold. Just one glance from him silenced everyone. No one dared even breathe loudly. Everyone feared provoking this ruthless young master, not knowing how they might be dealt with. Yet, Vivian Hứa showed no fear, persistently challenging his limits. She deliberately pulled down Ethan Shaw's collar and bit his left ear, her voice soft. "Ayan, pay a little attention." Time seemed to stop for a few seconds. Ethan Shaw's entire body stiffened, and starting from his ear, he flushed crimson, visibly to the naked eye. This awkward, flustered look was all too familiar to me. Before, whenever Ethan Shaw angered me and I ignored him, he would cast aside all his arrogance. The proud, unruly young master would instantly transform into an innocent boy, bowing his head pitifully, extending his index finger towards me, shyly pointing at his left ear. I, young Master Shaw, fear neither heaven nor earth. A 3-story building? I can jump at a word, making old Mr. Shaw so furious he almost pulled out a gun to shoot me, yet I was never scared. But I fear being bit on the left ear the most. That's my most sensitive weak point. He could expose it to me without any reservation. That arrogant man, who looked down on everyone, would use a whining, mischievous tone to beg me to punish him, to bite him until my anger subsided. Ethan Shaw said, "That year, to pursue you, I didn't hesitate to mobilize all connections in the capital, almost losing my life. It was so hard to finally win you over. You are my wife. I fear most that you will leave me, that you will ignore me." This was originally our private secret, but I didn't know when he had also told Vivian Hứa. My heart ached, I couldn't deny it. During the 2 years I battled illness, Ethan Shaw's gaze had been captivated by the female lead. My stubborn desire to see him at this moment seemed so ridiculous, but suddenly I felt so unwilling to accept it. Every surgery, every dose of medicine was incredibly painful and agonizing, but just thinking that Ethan Shaw was still waiting for me, just thinking that someone still loved me so passionately, I lost all fear. I had tried so hard to recover quickly, to meet Ethan Shaw as soon as possible. Ethan Shaw clearly loved me the most, but the moment Vivian Hứa appeared, everything was snatched away by her. Many malicious thoughts arose in my mind, and I startled in fear. My hand trembled, the wine glass slipped to the floor, shattering into pieces. I frantically knelt to pick up the shards, but they pricked my hands, drawing blood. It truly hurt. Tears streamed down endlessly, blurring my vision. A pair of luxurious leather shoes stopped in front of me, and a familiar, somewhat hoarse voice asked, "Are you all right?" Everyone was surprised. Ethan Shaw, who was usually indifferent to others' affairs, suddenly showed concern for a clumsy service staff member. He crossed the crowd and stood before me. We were clearly inches apart, yet miles away. The hotel manager, terrified, rushed over to apologize. "Mr. Shaw, I'm truly sorry, sir. This girl is new, clumsy, and she's ruined everyone's mood. Hurry up and leave. Bright red blood traced my fingertips, dripping onto the floor, drop by drop. Suppressing the dull ache in my heart, I bowed my head and said nothing, quickly fleeing under the manager's protection. I suddenly became very curious. If Ethan Shaw knew the person standing before him was me, how would he react? Wait. His hand, hanging loosely at his side, anxiously clenched, and the Buddha bead bracelet on his pale, cold wrist glinted. Ethan Shaw spoke again. Turn around, lift your head. His mood was clearly very unstable. The surrounding pressure suddenly dropped. It seemed even the air temperature had fallen several degrees. Ayan, it's time to go toast our parents. Vivian Hue's voice echoed from behind, breaking the deadlock. She walked over in high heels, intimately linking her arm through Ethan Shaw's, resting her head naturally on his chest, and pouted, Ayan, why are you spacing out? Our parents are waiting for us. Ethan Shaw was pulled away. He still hadn't recognized me. Watching their backs recede, I suddenly felt quite disappointed. Happy engagement, Ethan Shaw. My voice wasn't loud, but he heard it, and his tall, prominent figure suddenly trembled. Chloe Hue, isn't she abroad? Why is she here? Someone with sharp eyes recognized me, immediately causing a commotion. They all thought I was here to steal the groom. Even my parents looked at me with warning glances, implying that if I dared to ruin their beloved daughter's engagement, they wouldn't hesitate to cut off all my medical expenses. But those things no longer mattered. I was destined to die. Ethan Shaw was also destined to forget me. If he had started deceiving me once, there would be a next time. Ultimately, it would lead to a suffocating, deadly loop. I had no desire to be his canary, nor did I want to cling to him and torment each other, watching him grow to despise me, forget me, and then gradually fall in love with Vivian Hue. They were right. A wicked villainess couldn't compete with the female lead. I had realized this truth, smiled, and chosen to let go, but my throat felt like it was blocked by a blade, each word spoken tearing painfully, unbearable to hear. Goodbye, Ayan. I casually grabbed a glass of strong liquor and drank it all in one gulp, the pungent alcohol burning down my throat to my stomach. I knew my body wasn't well. I couldn't drink a single drop of alcohol. Ethan Shaw's eyes were bloodshot with tension. The panic in his depths grew with each passing moment. Without hesitation, I pretended nothing was wrong and turned to leave. Ethan Shaw tried to follow, but Vivian Hue hugged him tightly from behind, stopping him. She threatened, Ayan, if you dare to go, I'll die right here in front of you. Drinking for the first time, I had severely overestimated my alcohol tolerance. The intoxication hit very quickly. My mind was dizzy and disoriented. The entire world spun wildly, everything spiraling into strange, distorted halos of light. I was so useless. Tears still streamed down endlessly, and my stomach churned. I leaned on something, retching violently. I hadn't eaten all day, and this time I almost threw up my bile. The streetlights were sickly yellow, the night wind chilling. I was so cold I had to wrap my arms around myself to feel a little better. A black suit jacket gently draped over me. Although I sensed no ill will, I still flinched, stepping back to dodge, having to brace myself against the wall to avoid a pathetic fall. Even if it was well-intentioned help, I dared not accept any more of it. The Hue couple adopted me, saying they felt a strong connection with an orphan like me. They said it was never too late to meet me, and so they gave me the affectionate name Vivian. They also said they would give me a home, and whatever others had, I would have even better. I believed them, regarded them as my dearest flesh and blood, and strived to become a gentle and obedient Hue family eldest daughter. It wasn't until Vivian Hue appeared that I learned the truth. They had only adopted me because I looked so much like Vivian Hue, wanting a new emotional anchor. It turned out even the name Vivian didn't belong to me. From the moment they sent me abroad, they had decided to abandon me. For 2 years, they hadn't asked about me once. Ethan Shaw also said he would love me forever, but today he was engaged to my nominal younger sister. All the good things they once gave me caused me endless pain when I lost them. I was truly terrified. The man's slender, pale, cold hand paused awkwardly in midair. He wanted to reach out to help me, but he didn't expect my reaction to be so strong. The deep-set eyes beneath his mask narrowed slightly, his gaze calm. It's me, don't be afraid, I won't touch you. I looked up, rubbing my eyes, and it took a long time to clearly see who had arrived. I thought I was hallucinating. I asked doubtfully, Uncle Victor, why are you back in the country? I met Victor Shaw abroad. We weren't what you'd call close. The total time we knew each other was less than 10 days. That time I had a medical emergency, almost dying on the hospital bed. It was he who suddenly appeared, sparing no expense, finding and buying the most advanced equipment overnight, and bringing in the best doctors to operate on me. That's how I got my life back. After regaining consciousness, I had awakened my self-awareness. At first, he only watched me from afar. After realizing I didn't reject him, he started appearing in front of me more often. He seemed to deliberately hide all information about himself from me. I also respected his privacy and didn't ask further. Besides knowing he was 10 years older than me and Ethan Shaw's uncle, I knew absolutely nothing else. In short, he was a very mysterious person, exuding a noble aura and always wore a black mask. I heard that after a car accident 10 years ago that disfigured him, he no longer appeared with his real face. He also seemed to have untold stories. Actually, according to the plot, I was not supposed to meet Victor Shaw. The book didn't even mention him once. Perhaps because I had awakened my consciousness, the wheel of fate had gone awry, leading to my connection with him. But strangely, though our acquaintance was very short, he understood me incredibly well, knowing all my preferences. Every time I was in danger, he would appear instantly. "You're hurt." He noticed my hand was bleeding, so worried that he momentarily forgot his composure, grasping my hand to examine it thoroughly. His stubborn gaze fixed on my wound, he gnashed his teeth and said cruelly, "They dared to hurt you." When he caught my doubtful gaze, he struggled to regain a shred of rationality. "I'll take you to the hospital first." I had no strength left. I nodded blankly, letting him lead me into a black Cayenne. As he buckled my seatbelt, I smelled a faint, cool sandalwood scent on him, an indescribably familiar feeling. Have we met before? I hadn't lost my memory, but I truly couldn't recall any romantic entanglements with him. His movements faltered, his knuckles visibly trembling. After a long moment, he gave a slight, almost imperceptible nod. Throughout this, he didn't look at me. Before I could ask more, Ethan Shaw caught up. Seeing me get into another man's car, his eyes turned bloodshot. He continuously pounded on the car window, begging me to get out and let him explain. "Chloe, I'm truly sorry. I don't need this damn marriage anymore. It's not what you think. I can explain, I really am a bastard, but please don't punish me this way. Please don't ignore me, don't go with him." The man in the driver's seat pressed his thin lips together, his fury burning. He slammed his foot on the accelerator, giving Ethan Shaw no chance to spout nonsense, leaving him far behind. I leaned against the car window, watching Ethan Shaw frantically run after the car, gradually becoming a blurred streak of light until he completely vanished. Unable to wait until the hospital, Victor Shaw stopped the car at the nearest convenience store. He got out, bought a pile of things, and quickly returned. The back of the Cayenne was very spacious. Victor Shaw held my shoulder, pressing me into the back seat. He looked both tense and fierce. I didn't know why he was so angry, but I could clearly feel him trying hard to control himself. He knelt on one knee, took my bloodied hand, and expertly treated my wounds. It didn't hurt at all. I lowered my head, seeing the sharp contours of his face appearing and disappearing in the shadows beneath his mask, an endless sadness spreading. "Uncle Victor, if I were a bad person, would you still treat me so well?" "Chloe Hứa, I'm no good person either." Victor Shaw looked up at me, his gaze serious and unguarded. My phone rang again, capturing my full attention. Ethan Shaw was still calling and texting me incessantly. In truth, I wasn't like what was written in the book. I absolutely didn't like getting entangled in love and hate, only to lose myself. The love I wanted had to be completely pure, belonging only to me. Therefore, I couldn't accept even a hint of Ethan Shaw's betrayal. If he was destined to be with the female lead, then I preferred to end things with him right here. Not answering, I snapped back to reality. Victor Shaw stood up and sat beside me, pouring a glass of warm water from a thermos and offering it to me. "Drink a little, you'll feel better." He fretfully fiddled with the Buddha bead bracelet on his wrist, his voice tinged with coldness. Click asterisk. As if having endured to his limit, Victor Shaw gripped the door handle, opened the car door, and stepped out with long strides. He leaned against the car body, lit a cigarette, said nothing more, only called his assistant Finn, instructing him to take me to a prearranged residence, then vanished into the night. After bringing me to the villa, Finn looked at me with a strange expression. "Is there something dirty on my face?" Finn said awkwardly. "I'm truly sorry, Ms. Hứa. You look so much like the madame that I was momentarily stunned. This villa was bought by Mr. Shaw for the madame. Whenever Mr. Shaw misses the madame, he comes here to sit for a while. It's been 10 years, and Ms. Hứa, you are the first person Mr. Shaw has brought here." After Finn gave me some simple instructions, he called the family doctor to give me a thorough checkup. Only then did he sigh in relief and call Victor Shaw to report the situation. Inside the room, my favorite lavender essential oil was burning, and the decor was also exactly to my liking. I lay doubtfully on the soft, large bed. Too tired, I was lazy to think, so I just let myself drift off, and very quickly, I fell asleep. The next day, the news of the Shaw family's young master abandoning Vivian Hứa right at their engagement ceremony, eloping despite everything, soared to the top of trending searches. Later, 2 short videos went viral. One showed a noble man draping his suit jacket over me, helping my drunken self into a black Cayenne. The other showed Ethan Shaw frantically banging on the car door, chasing after the car. The arrogant and ruthless young master had become pathetically unlike himself. The comment section was overwhelmingly cursing me. Before being recognized by the Hứa family, Vivian Hứa was a controversial star in the entertainment industry, beautiful but full of tricks, building an image as a troublemaker. She generated huge online debates, even posting a single status update could trend, attracting countless fans. After this incident, even her anti-fans turned sympathetic and spoke up for her. Everyone cursed me as a conniving woman. Chloe Hứa didn't intervene earlier. She chose precisely the moment of the engagement ceremony, using despicable tactics to steal the groom. She even got into an old man's car, a 2-timer. It turns out her previous gentle and dignified facade was all fake, and her sickly, frail appearance all day long was just feigning pity. Shamelessly promiscuous, raised in a prestigious family, but unable to change her low-class nature to the bone. Truly disgusting, truly dirty. Such foul language was unbearable to see. This was the halo of the female lead. Even if I did nothing, just standing there was a heinous crime. I was about to write down the ID of the account leading the most vicious attacks against me. They were right on one point: I held grudges. If I didn't sue her for spreading rumors, I wouldn't find peace. But when I clicked, I found her account had been locked. She was no longer to be found. Other comments in the section were also deleted in an instant, and very quickly, even the trending topic was taken down. Clearly, someone was secretly manipulating things behind the scenes. I stared at the dark screen in a daze for a long time, then my phone suddenly rang. It was Vivian Hứa calling. She seemed to know I didn't want to see her, so she sent me a photo. In the photo, Ethan Shaw lay on a hospital bed, his face pale and uneasy, his body wrapped in bandages, full of tubes. My heart tightened for a moment, and I questioned Vivian Hứa. What exactly did you do? Don't blame me. Ayan got into a car accident chasing after you, getting so seriously injured. Are you truly heartless enough not to visit him? Vivian Hüa's tone was innocent yet provocative, with no hint of worry. Tell me, did Ayan get brain damage from the accident? He just woke up and started talking nonsense, saying he'd rather endure punishment than be some damn male lead. He went mad, pulling out IVs and dragging his almost paralyzed leg to find you. People had to hold him down, and it was so hard to inject him with tranquilizers. Now his condition is very bad. Just as she reached the most crucial part, Vivian Hứa deliberately hung up. A wild thought flashed through my mind. Could Ethan Shaw have also awakened his self-awareness? My mutual friends in the circle refused to tell me where Ethan Shaw was. I could only wander around like a headless fly, searching all the large and small hospitals in the city, but still found no results. Perhaps she was tired of playing games with me. Vivian Hứa also found it boring, so she directly sent me an address. By the time I arrived, I was exhausted to the point of collapsing, soaked in cold sweat. Even walking was incredibly difficult. But what awaited me were several thugs. Under the cover of pitch-black night, they grabbed my hair, dragged me roughly, and pulled me straight into a dark alley. One of them pulled out a camera, his narrow eyes squinting into a lewd smile. There was no one around. My heart sank into a desperate abyss. The plot point of me being photographed naked to be threatened was actually happening earlier than expected. This was the turning point that would drive me to madness, also the final straw that would crush me. I tried to appear calm, negotiating with them. What do you want? I have money. How much did Vivian Hứa offer you? I can give you 10 times that. But if you dare to touch me, I have more than enough ways to make your lives worse than death. Before they could react, I used my trembling hands to simultaneously dial my emergency contact and the police. Boss, she called the police. The call hadn't even connected before the phone was snatched away, forcefully thrown to the ground, and a slap landed directly on my face. The slap was so powerful I fell sprawling on the ground, my head ringing, ears buzzing. You rotten brat, daring to pull tricks on me. Fearing the location would be exposed, they hurriedly shoved me into a van. The van drove on a bumpy road, shaking violently. They were like a pack of hungry wolves, unable to wait, pouncing to tear off my clothes. Slap after slap rained down on my face. I lost all strength. Boss, it seems there's a car following us from behind. Screech. A black Cayenne roared past with an extremely wild maneuver, blocking the road, forcing the thugs to stop the van. Headlights glared directly, and a man wearing a black mask approached with long strides, his entire body radiating a fierce aura that made anyone who saw him terrified. In his hand, he held an iron rod, aiming it directly at the van and smashing it wildly. Glass shattered everywhere. The thugs inside the car were dragged out one by one. Victor Shaw lost all reason, knocking people to the ground and beating them until they were bloodied. Uncle Victor, that's enough? I pulled my torn clothes back together, trying to hide my pathetic state, but it seemed futile. Hearing my voice, Victor Shaw regained his composure, stepping towards me against the light, draping his black coat over me and burying my head in his chest. I heard his heart trembling. He seemed even more afraid than I was. Chloe, I'm sorry, I'm late again. A strange feeling suddenly welled up in my heart. What was guiding me? I looked up, reaching out to take off his mask. Victor Shaw's entire body stiffened unnaturally, and just as my hand was about to touch it, he tilted his head away. With Victor Shaw's help, I quickly found the hospital where Ethan Shaw was. From inside the VIP patient room, fierce arguments erupted. Vivian Hue's voice sounded strained. Anne, don't forget what you promised me. If you dare to make a scene in front of Chloe Hue and let her know about our cursed affair, I'll kill you. Chloe Hue doesn't want you anymore. She got into an old man's car and didn't come home last night. Who knows where she's happily enjoying herself. Are you still thinking about her? Is she worth it? Shut up. Crash. The table was violently kicked over. All the furniture crashed to the floor. Ethan Shaw was completely enraged. He grabbed Vivian Hue by the neck, fiercely throwing her onto the bed. What kind of spell did you put on me? Why did I become so strange after meeting you? If only you would die, then everything could go back to normal, couldn't it? Ethan Shaw's eyes were bloodshot. He acted ruthlessly, his veined hand tightening increasingly. Vivian Hue was choked until she couldn't breathe, sensing his murderous intent, in her eyes filled with terror. Everyone was frightened. Several bodyguards rushed in, taking a lot of effort to separate the two. Vivian Hue's face was pale. She fell to the ground, clutching her swollen, red neck, coughing incessantly, muttering blankly, "How could this be? Where did it all go wrong? How could Anne bear to hurt me?" Ethan Shaw's emotions were still highly agitated. No one could hold him back. He was on the verge of collapsing. There was truly no other way but to inject him with tranquilizers again. This was already the 6th dose. More would be life-threatening. With one injection, Ethan Shaw finally calmed down, but his body still trembled uncontrollably, only the deepest obsession still struggling. Chloe, I want to see Chloe. Every nerve in my body felt like it was being scraped by a blade, hurting to the point of numbness. Large tears fell, and a strong urge welled up inside me, submerging all my rationality. It didn't matter. As long as Anne still loved me, as long as we still loved each other so passionately, I absolutely wouldn't let go. If even I could awaken my self-awareness, why couldn't I change my destiny? I let go of Victor Shaw's hand, pushing everyone aside despite everything, running towards him without hesitation. Anne, I'm here, it's me. Ethan Shaw looked up at me, his messy black hair soaked in cold sweat. His pupils trembled repeatedly, and tears streamed out, a picture of extreme vulnerability. He stood up, wanting to hug me, but his entire body lacked strength. As soon as he stood, he fell forward. I quickly caught him, and we both collapsed to the ground. Ethan Shaw's voice was so hoarse he could barely speak. Trust me, if this world truly is a melodramatic novel, I will struggle to escape every destiny. Even if it means death, I want to be with you. Ethan Shaw explained many things to me. He said that ever since Vivian Hue appeared, he had become very strange. Sometimes he couldn't even control his own body. What frightened him even more was discovering that if he didn't follow the plot, memories related to me would be forcibly erased. Many things were just as Vivian Hue had said, which was why he wavered and agreed with Vivian Hue to act out the engagement plot, temporarily deceiving the system. Ethan Shaw repeatedly said that he would definitely find a way, asking me to trust him, but it sounded more like he was trying to convince himself. I could clearly feel his fear. His hands were trembling so much he couldn't even hold me anymore. His gaze was extremely wary, fiercely looking towards Victor Shaw. The eyes beneath the mask darkened. Victor Shaw signaled Finn and then turned and left. Finn immediately understood, leading people to clear the scene. Even Vivian Hứa was carried out, continuously cursing, "Don't touch me, I'm the female lead. Are you all crazy? If you don't follow the plot, you'll all be erased, you won't die peacefully." Vivian Hứa, oblivious to her image, her hoarse screams growing distant. Very quickly, only Ethan Shaw and I were left in the room. I came back to my senses and looked at Ethan Shaw, asking, "Yan, can you tell me about your uncle? Why are you suddenly mentioning him? He died in a car accident 10 years ago, it just wasn't made public." Thinking of my interactions with Victor Shaw over the past few days, every single thing told me that our relationship was definitely not just a simple acquaintance. A thread in my mind suddenly tightened. So who exactly was he? Although Ethan Shaw's emotions had stabilized, his condition hadn't improved. He was still running a high fever. Even at his weakest, his mouth continuously called my name. Even old Mr. Shaw couldn't bear to watch anymore, no longer preventing me from seeing Ethan Shaw. Vivian Hứa was also unusually quiet. Even in a deep coma, Ethan Shaw still held my hand tightly, afraid I would leave. I couldn't pull it out no matter what. He would occasionally wake up for a brief moment. Seeing me, he would be at peace, cooperate with treatment, and cry incessantly. No one could imagine that the business magnate, whose name alone struck fear into people's hearts, could cry so miserably. I could feel Ethan Shaw desperately fighting against something. Seeing Ethan Shaw's living hell-like state every day, my heart felt squeezed by an invisible hand. It hurt so much I couldn't breathe. Even my nerves were stretched taut like guitar strings. Neither of us knew what awaited us in the future after defying this melodramatic destiny. Or rather, did we even have a future? Stepping out to get some fresh air, I saw a man at the end of the hallway. The ceiling light directly above him was broken, leaving him standing right on the line between light and shadow. Broad shoulders, narrow waist, his black suit highlighted his striking physique, exuding a cold, lonely aura. "Uncle Victor, is that you?" These past few days, my mind had been completely focused on Ethan Shaw. I had no energy to think about anything else, completely pushing this mysterious man impersonating Victor Shaw to the back of my mind. His inexplicable appearance had cured my illness, saving me from the fate of dying on an operating table in a foreign land. Perhaps he was the variable in this world. Perhaps he could save Ethan Shaw. With a nervous and uneasy heart, I slowly approached him. "Are you willing to come with me? If not, don't come any closer to me." His voice was deep and hoarse. My steps faltered for a moment, but I finally stopped. "Can you tell me who you are?" He saw my determination, and his voice held a hint of disappointment. "I can't." He took a few steps back, about to turn and leave, but I quickly chased after him and grabbed his hand. Caught off guard, when I lost my balance and almost fell, he wrapped his arm around my waist, stepped back a few paces, and finally pressed me against the wall. A cold shiver ran down my spine. He was very close, his breath hot, the curve of his nape hinting at patience and restraint. I looked up into his deep eyes and asked, "Can you save Ethan Shaw?" "Tell me to do anything, even if it means leaving him. Even if I go with you, I won't love you." Seeing my decision, the eyes beneath his mask darkened. He loosened his grip on my hand. "He will wake up, I just don't want to see you hurt." "No, he won't." I said it very decisively, but deep down, I felt no sense of security. But at least I had to be brave for love once, even if I ended up shattered to pieces. After adjusting my mood, I returned to the patient room. As soon as I opened the door, I saw Ethan Shaw sitting up in bed, flipping through a notebook. I was overjoyed, so happy I was momentarily choked up, unable to say a word. "Yan, you're finally awake. These past few days, taking care of you, I haven't eaten or slept well." Vivian Hứa suddenly appeared, giving me a cold glance, then immediately launched into a dramatic performance, squeezing out 2 tears and tearfully throwing herself into Ethan Shaw's arms. Vivian Hứa wanted to replace me, to make Ethan Shaw misunderstand that she had been the one caring for him all this time, thus developing gratitude towards her. Having not slept well these past few days, my mental state was already very poor, and her vulgar act directly ignited my anger. I rushed in, pulled Vivian Hứa away, and slapped her hard. Vivian Hứa looked at me in disbelief. In front of Ethan Shaw, it was inconvenient for her to strike back. Thinking of the dirty tricks she had used against me, I still felt unsatisfied, wanting to slap her again, but Ethan Shaw stopped me. I looked at Ethan Shaw with suspicion. His gaze at me suddenly became utterly alien. "Don't go too far." my heart felt like it plummeted into an ice cellar, my throat aching with bitterness. Ethan Shaw's expression was clearly impatient. Who let her in here? Each word, cold as ice, felt like a sharp knife piercing straight into my heart, shattering the hope I had so painstakingly pieced together. I struggled to ask, Ayan, do you still remember who I am? He took a few seconds to react before softly speaking. Chloe Hứa. It took him a long time to utter these two words. His brows furrowed slightly, and his hand unconsciously rested on his chest, the place closest to the heart. Ayan is uncomfortable seeing her now. Why don't you hurry and get rid of her? Vivian Hứa ordered the bodyguards. They looked at each other, their faces full of doubt, seeing that Ethan Shaw did not speak to stop them, meaning he tacitly agreed. So they followed orders and escorted me out. Vivian Hứa wrapped her arms around Ethan Shaw's neck and gave me a triumphant smile. Ethan Shaw seemed to have truly forgotten me. I walked away in a daze. Vivian Hứa followed. As soon as she reached me, she tried to slap me, but I dodged. I said coldly, "What tricks are you trying to pull now?" "No, I just want to kindly remind you, no one can change the main plot of this world. I am Ayan's destined female lead." To prevent the plot from collapsing, the system forcibly altered his memories, making him think that I was always the one he loved most. Only when you die will he be able to remember you. See, even the system is helping me. Do you have to compete with me? A deep sense of despair spread throughout my body. I clenched my fists, my nails digging deep into my flesh, but I felt no pain. I laughed mockingly. So what? Now you are nothing more than my substitute, never truly loved, only able to rely on snatching things away. You are truly pitiful. I didn't know when, but the sky began to pour rain. The neon lights were cut into even dimmer, blurry spots. The entire bustling city was shrouded in a suffocating gray. I stood in the pouring rain, a feeling of disorientation suddenly welling up. "Chloe Hứa, are you all right?" Victor Shaw appeared, as expected. I looked up, a self-deprecating smile on my face. Ayan has forgot me, no one cares about me anymore. Victor Shaw's hand, holding my arm, suddenly tightened, his voice strained. "I'm sorry, it's all my fault." I used what little strength I had left to push him away. "Don't pretend to be a good person anymore. You're approaching me simply because I look a lot like your deceased wife. I won't be Ethan Shaw's canary, and I absolutely cannot be a substitute for your wife. You're just a coward who doesn't even dare to let others know your real name." I didn't want to go with him, but he pretended not to hear, letting me vent my anger, finally picking me up directly. No matter how much I struggled or hit him, he didn't loosen his grip even a little. "Don't force me to hate you." Victor Shaw's steps faltered. "Even if you hate me, it's okay. I just want you to be safe, that's enough." I was placed in the black Cayenne. Finn was in the driver's seat, sensing the heavy atmosphere behind him. He didn't dare to pry into his boss's affairs and discreetly lowered the privacy partition. Victor Shaw took out a towel, gently dried my hair, then took out a clean set of clothes and gestured for me to change. It was a black dress, highlighting a cold elegance. Even the size fit perfectly. He decisively got out of the car, closed the window tightly, and then stood outside the window in the pouring rain, as if punishing himself. If I kept not changing, he would keep standing outside in the rain. Finn was also forced to get out of the car. His boss wasn't using an umbrella, so he dared not be different and had to stand in the rain too. I sighed helplessly, changed my clothes, then tapped on the car window, signaling them to get in. Only then did Victor Shaw bend down and enter. Throughout the journey, we didn't say another word. Victor Shaw took me back to the villa, but he didn't leave. I stood on tiptoes, grabbing his soaking wet lapel, pulling him down with a rebellious air. "What, do you want to keep me too?" Victor Shaw's breath hitched, his Adam's apple bobbed. "Chloe Hứa, I just want to protect you." Ha ha ha. I burst out laughing. If I believed that, I'd truly have a screw loose. "Uncle Victor, let's make a deal." Ethan Shaw recovered very well and was discharged quickly. That evening, Vivian Hứa posted an update. "As long as the one I love can wake up, every sacrifice is worth it." Below was a photo of her and a man, their fingers intertwined intimately. The man's slender knuckles were clear, his skin pale and cold, and he wore a sandalwood Buddha bead bracelet on his wrist. Even without showing his face, everyone immediately recognized who it was. Her post was reposted by major entertainment news sites, adding all sorts of exaggerated words, turning even false stories into truth. Very quickly, it topped the trending searches again. In an instant, the story of Vivian Hứa caring for the Shaw family's young master in the hospital moved millions of netizens. Ethan Shaw was also incredibly grateful to Vivian Hứa, thus indulging her even more, cooperating with her to ostentatiously display their affection at various events. Their wedding date was quickly set. Netizens were crazily shipping the pair, the business magnate and the beautiful, scheming starlet. Of course, everyone didn't forget to continue cursing me. If it weren't for Chloe Hứa, Vivian Hüe's engagement wouldn't have been ruined, and Ethan Shaw wouldn't have been in a car accident that almost killed him. I became the main culprit. But those attacking comments against me were quickly erased. Seeing Finn's flustered and busy appearance, I guessed Victor Shaw was helping me, just like last time. This time, I wasn't in a hurry to explain, because I knew Ethan Shaw truly loved me, and one day he would remember me. Everyone knew Ethan Shaw hated being deceived the most, and I was his ultimate limit, more important than his own life. As long as he remembered me, thinking of the pain he had caused me, how regretful and heartbroken he would be. With his personality, even if Vivian Hứa was the female lead, he would make her suffer half her life. Vivian Hứa thought she was the female lead and could act wildly, but she seemed to have forgotten she was the female lead of a tragic story. After I died, Ethan Shaw would torment her for 10 years. That would be enough for her to experience it. My stomach churned with nausea again. I rushed to the bathroom, hugging the toilet, vomiting until my vision blurred. Victor Shaw saw my painful state, panicking and flustered. Recently, he had been particularly stressed about me, almost following me every step, fearing something unexpected would happen to me. After I finished vomiting and regained some strength, he carefully carried me back to bed, meticulously tucked me in, poured water, and gave me medicine. Victor Shaw always knew how to care for others especially well. I heard his wife also had poor health, with constant minor and major illnesses, and he was always there to care for her. Chloe Hứa, let's leave this place. Victor Shaw again suggested taking me abroad. I refused. I had imagined the scene of my departure countless times, but it was absolutely not like this. I wanted Ethan Shaw to remember me, not to see him with altered memories, treating me as the most hateful woman. Now, as soon as I closed my eyes, I saw Ethan Shaw desperately struggling to escape the plot. It seemed he had a premonition then. Every time he looked at me, his eyes seemed to want to engrave my image, as if saying goodbye. Every time I thought of his suffering, my heart ached so much I couldn't breathe. I couldn't just run away like that. The more a person is pushed to the brink, the more they want to take a gamble. I was very unwilling to accept this. I didn't believe I couldn't change anything. Even if my story was destined to be a death trap, I didn't want to obediently wait to die. I met Ethan Shaw again at his birthday party. As was customary, he held a party at the largest club in the capital, inviting all his friends in the circle. I had promised him that every year I would celebrate his birthday with him. Even if he hated me, even if he didn't invite me, I absolutely had to go. When I arrived, everyone was drinking heavily and having a lot of fun. The lights in the private room were dim, no one noticed me. Vivian Hứa had drunk a lot of alcohol, drunkenly clinging to Ethan Shaw and acting wildly. She brought a glass of wine to his lips, pouting, Anne, just one drink please, just one." Ethan Shaw didn't respond, his expression a little cold, his sharp features obscured in the darkness, his face was unreadable. The people around also joined in, cheering, among them some were tipsy and spoke without thinking. The Shaw family truly keeps their promises. That year they promised Chloe Hứa not to drink anymore, and even now they haven't broken it. Truly admirable. Before the words finished, Ethan Shaw angrily snatched the glass and threw it hard to the ground. Along with the ear-splitting sound of shattering glass, Ethan Shaw's eyes became dark and terrifying, looking extremely dangerous. Everyone instantly fell silent. The person who spoke finally realized he had misspoken, scared to the point of turning green and then white. Why mention her? It ruins the mood. Ethan Shaw also didn't understand why he reacted so strongly, ultimately blaming it on his hatred for me. When I came here, I had prepared for the worst, but hearing Ethan Shaw say those words firsthand, I still couldn't help but feel heartbroken. Anne, you once said you would only love Chloe Hứa forever. Does that promise still hold? Everyone was astonished, not expecting me to appear here, and even less expecting me to say such words. Vivian Hứa was more than half sobered by fright, her accumulated anger suddenly erupting. "Who let you in here? Chloe Hứa, why are you like a persistent ghost?" Drunkenly, she acted wildly, trying to rush over and grab me. I tilted my body and dodged. She couldn't stand steadily and fell sprawling on the ground. To help her sober up, I grabbed a bottle of wine from the table and poured it over her head. Her entire body flinched, not expecting me to do that. Stunned in place, everyone took a sharp breath. And the body's memory cannot be deceived. I straddled Ethan Shaw's lap, forcing him to look at me. Under his astonished gaze, I leaned down and placed a deep kiss on his lips. Ethan Shaw's pupils suddenly constricted, his nape stiff. He didn't resist me. I had hoped he would remember me. But in just a brief moment, he reacted, gripping my shoulders, changing our positions, and pinning me beneath him. His gaze grew colder with every inch. "Chloe Hứa, what you're doing is truly cheap." Each word was like a knife carving into my heart, tears forced out. I had always thought that in Ethan Shaw's heart, I was a very special existence. Even if he forgot me, he wouldn't truly have the heart to hurt me. But I was wrong. Victor Shaw rushed over, seeing me crying and laughing like a madwoman, his fists clenched, veins popping on the back of his hands. He pulled Ethan Shaw off me, and the two men lunged at each other, fighting fiercely. "You're a real bastard, you'll regret this." Ethan Shaw froze for a moment, his expression complex. He hastily wiped a trace of blood from the corner of his lip. He didn't fight back anymore, allowing the punches to rain down on his face and body. Ethan Shaw and Vivian Hüe's grand wedding was to be held on a luxurious yacht. I had truly tried my best. I had tried every way to make Ethan Shaw remember me, and every way to prevent them from getting married. But in the end, everything I did was just a joke. I still couldn't change anything. The main plot was still unfolding. According to the story's destiny, I would die on the wedding day. My body was gradually necrotizing. Even doctors couldn't find the cause. Extremely weak, I no longer even had the strength to grieve. I calmly awaited my death, but Victor Shaw found it hard to accept this truth. He became incredibly violent, often locking himself in his room, wildly smashing everything to vent his anger, muttering words I couldn't understand. In the most severe incident, he continuously vomited blood. When I found him, he was soaked in cold sweat, his entire body ice cold, looking even more like a dying person than I was. He hugged me tightly, as if wanting to embed me into his very bones. I felt his intense pain and unease. Why can't I save you?" Seeing him cry so heartbreakingly, an indescribable discomfort welled up in my heart. Perhaps seeing my dying state reminded him of his wife, stirring up that painful memory. To watch the one you love most die right before your eyes, helpless, that was truly too cruel. Through our time together, I had developed a strange affection for Victor Shaw. I knew clearly that I now relied heavily on him, and I couldn't bear to see him drowning in sorrow, deceiving himself. I gently patted his back, coaxing him like a child. In the suffocatingly cold night, we hugged each other and cried. I began to hallucinate, always mistaking Victor Shaw for Ethan Shaw. He didn't expose me, cooperating in the act. I lay in his arms, recounting every single thing we had been through together. Often, I would laugh while speaking, then cry while laughing. I spoke very slowly. Victor Shaw always listened patiently, but his body trembled with restraint. I knew he was crying. On the day Ethan Shaw and Vivian Hứa got married, without surprise, I died in Victor Shaw's arms. It was a beautiful sunny day, the sunlight dazzlingly bright. At first, Victor Shaw still refused to believe it until no matter how he called, I didn't wake up. He was first frantic, then covered his eyes, tears streaming incessantly through his fingers. My soul hovered in the air, watching him cry uncontrollably. I didn't understand why he was so heartbroken. Just as I was marveling at how deeply he was immersed in his role, I saw him actually change my wedding dress. I hadn't imagined he could be this perverse. I was dead, and he still wanted to torment me. But when I saw that wedding dress, I was utterly confused. It was the wedding dress style Ethan Shaw and I had designed together. Besides us two, no one knew about it. After changing the wedding dress, Victor Shaw placed a very light kiss on my forehead, then picked me up and walked step by step towards that room. Ever since his wife died, that room had become a forbidden area. No one but him was allowed in. I suddenly had an ominous premonition. Click, the door opened, and my heart pounded to its extreme. Victor Shaw took off his mask. The sharp features beneath it were indeed very similar to Ethan Shaw's. He was like a madman, talking wildly to the air. I didn't know who he was talking to, but from his fragmented words, I learned a cruel truth. The sunlight suddenly became very dazzling, piercing my eyes with pain. I looked at the entire room, plastered with my photos, my heart contracting violently. Finally, my gaze fixed on a large wedding photo placed at the head of the bed. The woman in the photo wore a wedding dress, her arm linked with a noble man. He was looking at her with doting affection. The woman in the photo was clearly me. I had thought that after death, one would no longer feel sorrow or pain, but that wrenching pain came back tenfold. Even after dying, it was still so agonizing. I had many speculations about Victor Shaw. I guessed perhaps he came with a system mission to win me over. Perhaps because I looked too much like his deceased wife, and he loved his wife too much to let go, he saw me as a substitute. Perhaps he held a grudge against Ethan Shaw, wanting to use me for revenge. But I never expected that he was actually Ethan Shaw from 10 years in the future, traveling through a long stretch of time to protect me. It turned out that after I died, he didn't forget me, nor did he stay with the female lead. His ultimate grief made him remember me. He desperately struggled to escape destiny, desperately completed system missions, repeatedly traveling through time to be by my side. Again and again, he watched me die right before his eyes. As soon as I recognized him, he would disappear from this world. That's why he stubbornly refused to tell me who he really was. For 10 years, he had traveled through time 10 times, successfully hiding his identity so I wouldn't discover him. But I still died. This was his 10th failure. He finally realized he was just repeating my death loop. He had despaired to the point of collapse. This was an extremely cruel truth. Just thinking about how he had lived for the past 10 years, my heart ached even more. I tried to hug him, constantly telling him that I was right beside him. Ayan, don't be sad anymore. I don't blame you at all. Let go of your obsession, forget me, don't torment yourself anymore. But my hand passed through his body. He couldn't see me, nor could he hear anything I said. As if sensing something, he suddenly looked up towards me. I thought he could truly see me, but his eyes were cold as ice, without any warmth, ominously terrifying. He suddenly stood up, carried my cold body into the Cayenne, and drove straight to the wedding venue. I didn't know what he intended to do. I just saw him floor the accelerator, directly crashing into his 10 years ago self and Vivian Hứa, killing them. Blood splattered all over the car. The scene was chaotic. Ethan Shaw didn't even blink, driving straight past the scene towards the city's outskirts. There was a very sacred temple there. He had never believed in gods or Buddhas, but holding me, he devoutly prostrated himself with every step, each kneel hitting the ground hard, yet he seemed to feel no pain. Covered in injuries, he knelt before the Buddha, praying that in my next life, I would find peace and be free of worries. The next second, he pulled out a gun, the black barrel aimed at his forehead, a sorrowful smile on his lips. "Chloe, I'm here to marry you." Bang, the gunshot echoed, seemingly firing straight into my heart twinged with a sharp pain. I suddenly woke up a little startled. Finn saw me awaken and cried with joy. "Madame, you're finally awake." I was still very disoriented. It wasn't until the system's choked, mechanical voice echoed in my head, "Congratulations, host, you have escaped the plot," that I understood. Through the system's prompt, I learned that at the moment of that final gunshot, Ethan Shaw still hadn't given up. He had used his remaining will to initiate the 11th time travel. After 10 years of resistance, Ethan Shaw had finally depleted all the system's energy, successfully rewriting the plot. In this new timeline, I didn't die but became a comatose vegetative state for 10 years. Ayan, where is he? Overwhelmed by intense emotions, my whole body trembled, every word I uttered shaking. "Mr. Shaw, he's at Lin and Temple." Without waiting for him to finish, I ripped off the medical equipment on my hand. Finn was scared by my reaction but still hurriedly took me. In the car, he chattered incessantly. "Madame, you don't know, the critical condition report was already out. The doctors said you wouldn't make it through the night. Mr. Shaw has been waiting for you for 10 years. He truly couldn't bear to watch you leave like that anymore. He didn't dare, so he hid away at Lin and Temple to pray for your well-being." You know, Mr. Shaw never believed in ghosts or divine matters, yet he was prostrating himself, bowing devoutly before the Buddha with every step. I couldn't calmly listen to all these words. My heart pounded fiercely, each beat accompanied by a sharp ache. In my mind, there was only one thought: to quickly see Ethan Shaw, faster, just a little faster. The stairs of Lin and Temple were both numerous and long. I ran very fast, falling several times, my knees and palms scraped, but I didn't care, nor did I feel any pain. I finally found Ethan Shaw in the temple. He wore a neat black suit, kneeling perfectly straight before the Buddha, his entire body enveloped in shadows. His right hand held a gun, aimed directly at his head. He was ready to be buried with me. "Yan!" I was utterly terrified and quickly called out to him. His hand suddenly relaxed. He thought he was mistaken, not daring to turn around and look at me. Without hesitation, I ran to stand before him. Ethan Shaw's pupils trembled. He looked up at me, tears streaming down endlessly. He threw the gun from his hand, still kneeling as he pulled me into his arms. Chloe, it's you. Chloe, it's really you. In his embrace, overflowing love completely engulfed me. We found each other, lost in a scorching, bittersweet kiss. This time, nothing could separate us anymore.